Okay, y'all, one episode left. We've made it. We've made it through the White Lotus as well. We talked about the last episode last night. Go check out that video if you watched the White Lotus. But we are here, final week of Yellowjackets season 3. I just feel like it's just yesterday we just started talking about this season. Really love everybody who's come on, commented. I've read so many great comments. I want to respond to every one of them, but I just get so caught up with work and all of that. Make no mistake, I read all the comments as they come through. But let's talk about what's coming, our theories, and what the hell is that finale going to look like. Last week, we got a tremendous episode. We saw a bunch of bodies hit the floor, and now we're just wondering, how is this season going to conclude with this epicness that just happened in the previous episode? So let's get into it. Let's do a small recap. We saw Van die at the hands of Melissa, nonetheless. Really unexpected that was. I really thought Melissa was over the wilderness and over everything else. It seems she's not. And I really do believe it's because of Shauna's speech she gave to her, where she says the only way you can really be safe, Melissa, is if you're the last one standing. Melissa took that to heart and said, all right, I'm taking Van out right now. We saw that Van was contemplating on killing Melissa because she saw it as the only way for her herself to survive. And that was because she needed an offering because of her cancer and all of that. And it turns out Melissa was just playing her all along and eventually said, if you can't do it, I can do it. So we saw Van die. We saw that evil Ty is gone now. So good Ty couldn't even be with Van at this point. And we see that Shauna and Van are pretty much the only ones that have witnessed this. Misty went off with Walter and she found something incriminating in Walter's cloned phone of Lottie's phone. So it seems that Misty might just be really close to cracking the case of who killed Lottie, which is something we're going to get an answer to in the finale. Also, we do have Jeff and Callie almost breaking apart from Shauna now. They've decided to sort of move on with their own life, and I think we're going to see that happen in the next episode of sorts. We'll talk about the trailer and everything in a bit. And I think also a huge thing is that the girls in the teenage timeline are staying for another winter. We're going to see a hunt ensue, but we do see Misty and Van and Natalie aware now that there is a radio and that they can use the black box in order to fix that and get rescue. So I think the radio is going to come clutch for what comes next for the Yellowjackets. So let's get into some theories and what's coming up in the next episode. So let's look at the trailer for the upcoming episode, which is of course episode 10, which is called Full Circle. Everything comes full circle, and that for me means we will find out who Pit Girl is. We made a theory video about who Pit Girl and Antler Queen is last week, if you want to go check that out. And I really do think it's Hannah. I really do think Antler Queen is also possibly Travis, or it could be Shauna or Lottie. Those are my biggest theories going into it. But let's talk about this trailer right here, which of course shows winter, as you can see, and also Lottie saying we need to make another sacrifice. And Shauna as well in the teenage timeline says we have to give our respects to the wilderness. So I think Shauna, of course, isn't a true believer in everything that's going on in the wilderness, but I feel like she sees it as the only way to gain control is to scare them. What I think is so interesting with this card draw right here that is happening in the next episode is in the last episode, we heard Ty and Van say, we've been practicing the cards and all of that, so none of us are going to get the cards, right? So they're going to choose, I think, who will become the Pit Girl by the sleight of hand that Van does with that. I think that's why we see Van looking like worried here and like guilty. This is what it showcases to me. And of course, we see the hunt ensue. Right here, you see Shauna howling, you see them picking up axes, and you see them, of course, chasing somebody. And I think full circle means this is back to the first scene we ever saw in Yellowjackets where Pit Girl is running from somebody. And I think that is clearly showcasing that, yeah, there is something horrible about to happen here. And the biggest thing is that I theorize is that they do this final hunt and then that same night they get rescued. So it was like they didn't really need to do all of this, right? So why do I think they get rescued? Because I think this vision that Lottie may be having of seeing the Antler Queen here is just some rescue lights. And that's exactly what happens. They get rescued. I don't think it happens when they're doing the ritual of eating or killing somebody. It might be a little bit after. And then that's how they don't really get caught that they were cannibals out here. And that's exactly how I see this going through. Now, let's talk about the adult timeline because it's also interesting with some of this imagery here where we see Lottie, the adult, and her in those stairs where she dies and talking about they brought you to me. And this is obviously her talking about whoever kills her. Now, a big theory that I've had is that I think Walter could have done it. And I also think Callie could have done it. I think Walter is really interested in Misty and wants wants to really rid the Yellowjackets of her. He's been talking about it since the beginning of the season, that they don't care about Misty and they just bring her down. And I think he sees it as the only way is to take them all out as well. And I see this as him killing Lottie, incriminating Shauna with the DNA and all of that as well. He's so sure of it. And even Misty, when she questions him, he's a little bit pushy about it. No, he's like, it is Shauna, you know? So I think Walter really wants the Yellowjackets gone, and he's going to do whatever it takes. Now, I think it could be Callie as well. I think Callie has sort of maybe fallen into the whole like Antler Queen and the wilderness and stuff like that, and she hasn't really showcased it just yet. Also that it could also be Lottie wanting to know the truth about it and sort of pushing Lottie, maybe not physically pushing her, but sort of wanting to get more truth about what happened out there because it's been plaguing her. It's been like a dark cloud over her head. And maybe in a sense, Callie did this accidentally and she just ran away from it. So that's what I think is going on here with this phone call. Could it be Misty wanting to talk to Jeff about Callie and all of that? And here we see Jeff confronting Callie about it as well. That's a possibility there. Also, another possibility for the scene is maybe this is Jeff and Callie realizing that they got to get as far away from Shauna, because we do see that there are some empty closets Shauna looks into. So Jeff and Callie are obviously gone, or could it just be Callie who ran away because of everything that's happened? So there's that as well because of that. Now, this is Ty here looking like she's about to kill someone or something. I theorize it could be Melissa, but I feel like that's just too easy. And I think Yellowjackets tries its best to not really go down the easy route and really divert itself, whether that's a good thing or bad thing, whatever you think about it. I know some people don't really like the writing, how it tries to be too different in itself, but I think that's what we're seeing here is Ty potentially killing Melissa or trying to, and maybe she doesn't go through with it. Maybe she wants to put an end to all of this. But let's talk about the creator teasing the season 3 finale, and we'll talk a little bit more about the show. The Yellowjackets creator, Ashley Lau, was talking to Deadline about everything that's been going on and how season 3 is headed into this finale. And this is what she had to say. I always feel like I'm shitting my pants, she said, talking about taking on each season of the show. It's terrifying, but it's a really exciting challenge. And luckily, the design of the show and the concept of the show was such that we knew each season would get crazier, more chaotic, more violent, and deranged. We at least had that going into it. Everything that happens this season in terms of the downward spiral of all of these women and their younger selves was something that we had thought of from the beginning. 2 more episodes remaining to air in the season 3. Lau then teased that she was excited for everyone to see the finale, and she also says it's got a lot of answers. Now, she didn't go ahead and reveal much about or spoil the finale, but she does say people will be very satisfied in certain ways and hopefully they want more at the same time. She also said they have a concept of how they want Yellowjackets to end, which they've had from the beginning. She says Jonathan Lisco, our co-showrunner, has a saying, which is that making television is like building a plane as it's taking off. We always try to leave room for better ideas that may come. We pitched the show 7 years ago. We have an endpoint in mind. We know where we're heading, but we have an absolute brilliant group of writers that we're working with. We have the writer's room, we have our incredible collaborators and our actors, so we know where we want to go, but we want to leave some room for how we get there. So that's basically what she said about the finale. And like I've said at the beginning, apparently a lot of things will be answered with this finale, which I think is going to be who killed Lottie. We're going to find out, which I think suspects are Walter or Callie. Those are the only 2 I can really see being the killers of Lottie, and for various reasons. Like I said, Walter feels the Yellowjackets are like bad for Misty, and I think he truly cares for Misty and he just wants to get rid of them. And I think Callie, in a way, either she's looking for answers and she pushes, not physically but sort of emotionally, Lottie down these stairs by her being so on it about wanting to know everything about what happened out there. And I also think that we are going to find out who Pit Girl is and the Antler Queen per se, which I think Pit Girl is either going to be Jen or it's going to be Hannah. I think it has to be either of those 2, especially with Melissa being close to them. It would just make sense why Melissa would want to drift away from the group even more after they came back. For Antler Queen, I really do believe it's going to be Shauna. I think Shauna has shown she is pretty ruthless. She is going to be the one that really says we have to do the sacrifice. And I don't think it's Lottie, because I think Lottie takes more of a back seat now, and I don't think people would really follow Lottie if she was the leader, especially after what she did. I think people are more scared of Lottie than anything. So I truly believe the finale is just going to be them getting saved or rescued, and I think the next season will follow them reintegrating into society, right? And they also talked about how what they did after they were saved was also horrible. So we have to see that at some point. So I think the next season could really focus on that. And I think it's time to step out of the wilderness with the teenage timeline and put them in a new sort of environment. I think that could really help it thrive in its storytelling and really developing these characters of how do they even interact with people after everything they've done, and how do those interactions go. I think it could really take the show in an interesting and darker take, but we'll talk more about that in another video this week about what season 4 could potentially look like if they do that. So stay tuned for that video. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories on the finale. We will be discussing it. Should I do a live on Sunday night after it, since we don't have the White Lotus anymore after the episode airs? Let me know in the comments down below and we can discuss it. But I will have my ending for the episode Friday afternoon, so don't miss out on it by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell. Let's get to 40,000 subscribers. Make sure you drop your theories down below. Who do you think killed Lottie and why? Who do you think is Pit Girl and who do you think is the Antler Queen? Drop it down below. Let's see who was right. We'll drop a poll as well. But stay safe, stay positive.